Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I'd like to talk with you a little bit about Shinola watches. Shinola is based out of Detroit, and they're doing some really interesting things with some interesting designs, and I figured it would merit a little bit of a discussion here. So Shinola is interesting in that they're taking they're taking movements that are built elsewhere in the world, and they're bringing them to Detroit for assembly. So they put the movement together, they put the movement in the case, and so they've created this brand that's not made in Detroit, but it's assembled in Detroit, and they are really doing some good in that they're making good jobs in factories in Detroit, and they're paying their people well. And they've become somewhat of a fashion icon, at least in some areas. Very much it's a hipster brand, but, not everything hipsters say is wrong. And I will admit that they are in some ways my home team. I'm currently spending time not too far from Detroit, and I really want Detroit to succeed, and I want it to come back because it's a beautiful city that's having some hard times, and anybody who's trying to work on that is good in my book. And so recently I went down to a Shinola store and figured, you know what, okay, damn it, I'm going to get me a Shinola watch because, it's about time. I like quartz watches. That's not a problem. Let's find something. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about my experience there. So they've got some really good strengths in that they've got a great design team and they've got great aesthetics. And they've actually branched out from watches. They sell pocket knives. This is a Benchmade collaboration with Shinola. They sell, rebranded Moleskine notebooks. They even sell bikes now. But they've got a very strong aesthetic, and it carries through. This is a company that's really well invested in designers, and that's a beautiful thing. They're also really brilliant at marketing. I mean, no matter even being really cynical, the idea of making things in Detroit nowadays is a really appealing thing for a lot of people, as it is for me. Because, Detroit needs a little bit of help. Maybe it's a little patronizing, but, hey, whatever it is. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a good marketing strategy. And they've got a very unique style. I will say that. Among all the other watchmakers I've looked at, Shinola stuff is fairly unique. This is maybe a little bit Panerai-ish, but nonetheless. And they've got some pretty compelling looking designs. I mean, this is a nice watch. This is their Brakeman. I don't remember the exact name of this one, but it's their big chrono diver, basically. And this is their Runwell, and this is probably the watch I would have bought from them, but for some other issues. But they've got some really nice designs, they've got a great aesthetic, and they're trying something beautiful, which is to bring manufacturing back into Detroit, which is just a nice thing. The thing is, they've got one big weakness. The big issue that Shinola's got here is the value. This is the Runwell, and this is the exact watch I would have got if I ended up buying a Shinola. And this is a $700 watch. Now, I have no problem with $700 watches. This here is a gem, and it's $500. And, I'm willing to go a little higher, especially for the home team, whatever. The thing is, though, they've done some nice things, but they haven't quite gotten it to the point where I can believe that this should be a $700 watch as a timepiece. As a fashion statement, like I support Detroit, sure, okay. But I'm looking at things as functional timepieces, and this just doesn't have that. They've got some nice things, like I said. The design is very nice, and the case making is just fine. There were no major flaws with it. Bracelets could be a little better, but whatever. They do waterproof their watches, and that's nice. You don't often see waterproof fashion watches, and so that's a nice thing. It's 5 atmospheres, good enough for the shower, maybe the pool, if you're careful. Could be better, but whatever. Got a screw-down crown, which is nice. It helps to avoid things getting unset randomly. And again, it is made in Detroit, and I'm willing to give a price premium for that all day, every day. But in terms of features, they're missing a lot of things that make a $700 timepiece a $700 timepiece if it's using quartz. Some $700 quartz watches use a thermocompensated movement, which means it's crazy accurate. Instead of being accurate to, 2 or 3 seconds a month, it's accurate to, 5 or 10 seconds a year, which is impressive, really super impressive. But they didn't do that here. A lot of expensive quartz watches use a perpetual calendar, which means whether it's a 28-day or a 30-day or a 31-day month, it's always going to be, your date's always going to be okay, so you don't have to futz with it. But they didn't do that here. And at least if they don't offer a perpetual calendar, they usually give you a quick set date, which allows you to just pull the crown out by one stop, change the date quickly, and put it back in without losing your time. But unfortunately, they didn't do that either. They could have put in a super long-lasting battery, but they really didn't. It's just a 2-year special, and especially on your 47mm huge dinner plate watches that they're selling, there's no reason why they couldn't have put a bigger cell in there. But they just chose not to. They could have even put in something like solar charging or kinetic charging, so you don't have to worry about batteries. But again, they didn't. And so this is a $700 quartz watch that has none of the features of a $700 quartz watch. So giving them benefit of the doubt, maybe they simply could not get parts that they could assemble in Detroit for a watch with thermocompensation, or a perpetual calendar, a quick set date, or solar, or, that take bigger batteries, whatever. But even if you're doing that, even if you don't have anything but a very basic quartz watch movement, you can do it better. For instance, this is really nitpicky, but I think it's kind of meaningful. Right here, this is a press image that they give. And even here, the second hand does not actually align to the marker. On your higher end quartz watches, like this guy, I hope you can see it, each time the little thing moves, it points directly at the marker. And that's the case in a lot of your Citizens and basically any quartz watch that really gives a damn. Each time it moves, it's pointing directly at the marker. Yesterday, walking around, probably handling 30 or 40 watches, I noticed that maybe about a quarter of them actually pointed at the marker. And I asked the young lady, hey, is there a procedure to set it at home such that it's right on? And she said, well, no. I mean, if that's important to you, you can send it in for service and file a warranty claim, and they might be able to adjust it for you. But she looked at me like I was kind of insane. And to be fair, I'm kind of insane. But that's just kind of a thing that they could have done a lot better. For $700, they could have quality controlled that to make sure that every watch coming out of there has that right-on accuracy. But they didn't. And they could give it the world's greatest warranty, because you don't need special parts for that. But again, they didn't. They warranty it against workmanship defects, which is nice. But that doesn't cover the strap or the buckle or the bracelet. And it doesn't cover the battery, which kind of makes sense. And doesn't cover any manual damage. So if they can show damage, no damage. And even if all of those things are correct, they'll still charge you $25 for a warranty claim. And they say specifically that fee may change. And that's just leaving me cold on a $700 watch. And so, I kind of walked out of there. I ended up picking up your Shinola Benchmade collaboration. But I walked out of there kind of disappointed, feeling like, God, I really wanted to do that. Just from every sense of the humanitarian, I don't know. But they just didn't make it happen. And none of the watches that were really calling to me were quite well made enough for me to consider spending that kind of money. So that's kind of the way I look at it, is that Shinola is got a great marketing pitch, and that's the whole assembled in Detroit, or what's their phrase, built in Detroit, to get around the fact that it's not made there, but it's assembled. And that's a beautiful thing, and I really hope they do well, and I hope that they up their game, because right now they make fashion watches, and that's not that different from the watches you can get at the counter at your Macy's, your department store, your little quartz cheap movements inside a kind of pretty case, and that's what they're doing. But they're charging $700 for it, and I just can't get behind that. As much as I want to, as much as they're the home team and I want to support them, I just couldn't do it. And so I kind of recommend that you sit back and you wait. And hopefully Shinola's going to up their game. They'll realize, okay, we're able to do this. Now let's really start becoming great watchmakers. Let's train the people better. Let's maybe build a movement or two in-house, maybe do an automatic. Who knows? But they're right now, the value is just not there. And so that's kind of where I land on your Shinola watches. Great lifestyle brand, great marketing, great shtick, but just not quite there as watchmakers. Sorry about that, Shinola. But anyways, I hope this has been helpful to you all, and have yourself a great rest of your day.